Homecoming week, so great to be back home. Seems like we haven't played many home games this year, so it's good to be back at home and uh, playing in our stadium in front of our fans. Really excited that way. Injury update: Darryl Williams came back yesterday, flew back yesterday. In the training room, Mom was here with him, and he's going to be fine. We don't expect him to be able to play this week. Um, but should be back after that. So, I thank everybody that had their prayers for him during the course of the game and what went on. But we expect him to have a full recovery and hopefully be back by next week's game. Uh, let's see. Obviously, a big game this week. Playing an excellent football team. When you watch this team, Sanford 6-1 team. Uh, have a lot of blowout victories. Very, very explosive offense. They got a great quarterback, completing over 70% of his passes. They got some explosive running backs, hit big plays. They got great wideouts. Executed a very, very high level on offense and put up a ton of yards and a ton of points. And then they're very physical on defense. I think their defense might be their offense seems to get a lot of attention. Defense might be a little underrated for the attention they get. They play hard, physical up front, fly to the ball. They got a big aggressive front. They got some great corners outside that can play man coverage and lock you down. So probably one of the best teams, FCS teams in the nation. Probably the best one we would have played in my time here. Best FCS team I've seen in quite a while. So great challenge for our guys. We're going to have to come out and execute and play at a very, very high level. At home, and hopefully we get home field advantage and huge crowd and people making crowd noise, saying the game, and helping us give that home field advantage, which is help us be successful through the years.
Coach, on Darryl, what was it that he injured in also?
A neck.
Neck.
Yeah.
Also,
Neck, like into the spine.
second question, you rotated a lot of backs with a lot of good success in the first half and second half. Kind of talk about that rotation with Nick Gibson in there too.
Well, I mean, Aris was hurt all week last week. He didn't practice, so that puts you two tailbacks down. So I mean, guys were getting reps at practice and did a good job, and we had to roll them all week at practice and wanted to get guys rolling into the game and. You got Holloway out, and you got Aris wasn't not at 100%. Even though I think by the time the game was coming around, he felt he was ready to go, and played well. We just had to have everybody ready to roll through.
With Darryl, what was the protocol? Like, how many people stayed back, and when was it okay for him to fly back?
Thomas stayed back with him. And the issue is it took him to the hospital. But before we left, we felt that everything. We got the word everything will be okay, but we don't know a time frame on anything. We set up. One of the trainers stayed with them. They stayed in a hotel that night, and he came back, flew back the next morning.
And did you call his family at that point to let them know everything's okay?
Yeah. What we did is actually we had somebody, John Clark, our assistant AD. He left the sidelines to call his mom as soon before he even left the field. We tried to get the mom on the phone, just to let her know that he was alert. I mean, he had movement in his hands and his feet, and that obviously we didn't have much medical details to give her, but that he was alert, and moving. And so we tried to get her that information as soon as possible. And then after he got to the hospital and we got more tests done, that they were in constant communication with his family.
I know you've talked about Keith Mixon the last couple of weeks, but when you were recruiting him, what did you see in him, and what did you think he could be when you saw him in high school?
Well, you saw a playmaker. His tailback obviously in high school, but not a guy that was big, but a guy that was electric with the ball in his hands. He actually come to one of our football camps and played a little running back and receiver, did both, and so you got to see him catch the ball and what type of ball skills he had, with great quickness and explosiveness. And so, one of the things you look at is it's hard to teach a guy sometimes. Here's the ball, go do something special with it. You can teach a guy how to stalk and block and how to run some routes and top end routes and the technical aspect of things, of being in fundamentals of playing the receiver position. But it's hard to coach a guy to be electric with the ball in his hand. And so we saw that and thought, hey, he's a guy that A lot of ways similar to what Brandon Holloway. Brandon Holloway came. We moved him to receiver. Was in the return game early in his career. Ended up settling, at tailback because you don't know how he's going to adapt to it. I think Keith though has adapted really well to the receiver position, and being a slot receiver that also has the dimension of being able to come into the backfield because he was a high school running back and being comfortable running the football.
Kind of on that same note, Malik Deer got several carries the other night. He was in the backfield, lined up in the backfield a lot. Do you foresee him getting more reps back there at running back, or do you like just moving him around?
No, he's just he didn't play one snap of running back. He was playing the same position he's played the whole year. He and Keith both play same position. So, we move those guys around and just find different ways to get him the ball. But in the same light, he was the same thing. He didn't play one position in high school. Played all kinds of different positions. So there are guys that, successfully through the years, we've had, you have a guy like a Chad Bumpus that can do that, or, played different positions in high school here. I've had a guy like Percy Harvin was that way, that, you can move him around on the field, and they're dynamic players with the ball in their hands that have played multiple positions, so they're comfortable. If you motion them into the backfield, they're comfortable running the ball as a running back. Haven't lined them up as quarterbacks yet, but I'm sure, both. I mean, Malik played a lot of quarterback in high school. You could do that stuff, and you move them around in the slot. You motion them from the backfield out to a slot position and create matchups. They're guys you're trying to just create mismatches with.
Coach, Michael Story got his first start with Dion out. First question, I guess, is you think Dion's back this week, and how did you think Michael adjusted and kind of after getting that experience at BYU?
Yeah, Dion will be questionable again this week for us. But I thought Michael actually handled it fairly well. In that being his first start, I didn't see any glaring issues from him. Which, sometimes, especially guys in their first start, play well, but then they'll have critical, something where. You can tell somebody's first start to just go the wrong way, or jumping off sides, or just some mental errors that way. And I didn't see that from him. I thought he handled the situation fairly well.
Your thoughts on the entire offensive line so far this year going into this game?
We're up and down at times. I think I don't know if it's that the whole team is we're very we're consistently inconsistent right now. Where at times we play really, really well. We ran the ball for a ton of yards the other night. We're very, very run efficient in our, not just, because a lot of times, running for a lot of yards can be deceiving, where you have, 380-yard runs and then do nothing the rest of the night. We're very run efficient at times. And then at other times, when we weren't run efficient, offensively as a whole, we're fumbling the ball, we're kicking it backwards, we're going the wrong way, and it just, that's kind of that gets frustrating, and it's not just at one position, it's across the board, and you need your seniors. To me, your seniors have got to do a good job of setting the tempo and for the guys on the team and setting the standard for everybody, and. Our guys are working on that. We've had a lot of injuries with the senior class, and so I think that leads to some inconsistencies.
Is there any chance to get Holloway or Coleman back this week?
There's maybe, but neither of them have practiced yet. So it'd be a late in the week decision or they'd be cleared late in the week.
Coach, you mentioned losing 3 games on the final play. How do you kind of guard against that here we go again type mentality? How do you keep the players up?
Oh, you got to win. There's just the confidence of winning a game. And it's because we found a way to lose the plays in the last play of the game 3 different ways too. Different ways. So, it's not like here we go again with just this situation. We've lost in the last play of the game in overtime. We've lost in the last play of the game with our offense on the field, and the last play of the game with our defense on the field. So we managed to kind of cover it all. I've never been in a situation where in a single season I've lost 3 games on the final play, not just the final drive or the final possession, or on the final play of the game in one season. So
When you look at the numbers, I think in your leading in the second and third quarters in points overall this season, and or negative in the first and fourth quarters. What do you think lends to those numbers in the first and fourth quarters?
Inconsistency, because if you go by game, there's games we've dominated a fourth quarter. You say that, I think we gave 21 points in the third quarter the other night. Just there's so many different inconsistencies. How we started the game off offensively, our first play we fumble, so you're second and long. The second possession, the first play we fumble, you're second and long. The next possession, I think we get 2 straight penalties against us. It just, and then at other times we're just, moving up and down the field at will. And so I think a lot of things we do, we hurt ourselves throughout the year. And when you have young players and guys that are growing and developing, when you really hurt yourself, sometimes that's harder to overcome. When you have a veteran team a little bit, it's sometimes easier to, you kind of make a mistake and hurt yourself. Guys shake it off quickly, no big deal, and they understand the situation they're in. Hey, we got a 1st and 25. That's all right. We'll convert this and then get back into rhythm on that drive. Not like, okay, boy, do we have to get it all back on one play? What are we doing? And so the inconsistencies to me are hurting us.
Coach, with Jeffrey Simmons was in on that play that forced the fumble that Mike brought all the way back. How has Jeffrey progressed through the season? And talking about the younger guys, someone like Jeffrey who was highly recruited out of high school, does he have the same expectations as most of the younger guys? How has he kind of moved along through the season?
Yeah, I imagine he does. I don't view expectations for anybody different. I view expectations for every player the exact same. I don't, whether you're highly recruited or lightly recruited or somewhat recruited, because every kid that we signed was very highly recruited by us. So I guess how other people want to view it, it's up to them. But young guys have been performing well. There's a bunch of young guys getting opportunities out there on the field, that are first-year players for us. You got Jeffrey, you got Marquis Spencer's doing a really solid job making some plays for us out there on the field. You got Fletcher Adams, a freshman, redshirt, even though redshirt freshman, still freshman, making a lot of plays. Leo Lewis, one of the leaders, is a freshman on the defensive side of the ball for us. So a lot of those young guys are coming in. I think they're, as I said, just being a young team and how things have played out for us, they're probably getting a lot more reps than maybe they thought they would, a lot of the younger players, which I'm sure they're excited about and bodes well for our future.
What did you see out of Jeffrey and Markey so early that allowed them to play as true freshmen?
Probably physical size, that just the physical size they have and the numbers of where we are at certain positions that are going to open up opportunities. When we realized we're going to lose Will Coleman for, majority of the season, even though he's back now, he's still in a very, very limited role. That opened up a spot. For Marquis, to get on the field.
And then kind of following up that, when you have the developmental program, a scout team to special teams, what is it? When do you know to advance, I guess, the person to the next step?
Well, one, it's them. It's them putting themselves in a position, how they perform on the practice field, that you have confidence that they're ready to go play for them. And then other times it's a lot of opportunity. Injuries, and a lot of things outside of your control will sometimes give certain guys more opportunities than others, and then you got to make tough decisions. We're right now we got 5 games left this year. We got a bunch of guys really banged up, and you got to make some decisions of, do I want to pull someone's red shirt off of them, with 5 games left in the regular season? Do I want to do that right now? Especially because you're looking at the injury report saying, okay, the guy I'm going to play him because this guy's out is only going to be out for a week or two. Now when he comes back, that guy's reps are going to be cut way back down again. And so there's a lot of things that go into all of that.
Jamal Peters was hurt on that last drive. Do you have an update on him?
He has a bruise, a bone bruise. So, talking to the trainers, they're hopeful with an injury like that he should be able to play this week.
You mentioned the Sanford quarterback, Hodges, almost 2,500 yards passing, I see. Just what have you seen on film from him, and how does he get
Well,
that?
I mean, I would tell you what, you see he's an excellent quarterback, very, very accurate quarterback, has a great, really quick release. They have some really good receivers, too, that he gets the balls to. And he can make different types of throws. You know, he's got good touch on the deep balls. He can rip it into a tight space. They do a nice job spreading things out, a lot of run-pass options. You know, and he does a good job of making good decisions on the field. And, you know, he's you watch him, he's such a phenomenal athlete. And I think, you know, when people think about that, they think of running quarterbacks. And he's not a running quarterback, but he keeps plays alive. And, you know, uses his athleticism to throw the ball. And whether it's keeping plays alive, scrambling around, you know, he's hard to sack. And, you know, so I mean, he's an excellent quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks we've probably faced so far this year. John, I don't want to downplay somebody else. I'm trying to just go back in my mind, rack my brain of who we've played, but I mean, he's up there.
What does Nick Gibson provide or do that something compared to maybe your other running backs?
You know, I don't. He very natural, sees things very well, makes very smooth, natural cuts. You know, and he's working still to be a consistent player. You know, you get into it of making sure. You know, I talked to him about it. Is, you know, you turn and hand him the ball, you feel pretty good. Pass protection, routes, all the things you need to do, and knowing all the different schemes, all that stuff. He's still working, making sure he's detailed in to become an every down player in somebody. But, you know, I mean, he had a good week of practice last week, and you know, ran the ball well in practice, and we were banged up, so just throw him in there, got a couple carries to, you know, hopefully continue to see improvement on him in the total picture and being a total back.
You mentioned some of the inconsistencies and things that the team's had this year. On the defensive side of the ball, obviously there's some young and inexperienced guys. How much of that, too, can be traced maybe to the first year that staff's gotten to work together on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. You know, you have a bunch of injuries combined with a bunch of young players, combined with a new staff on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, I guess altogether, I mean, it adds up that you can see it and you don't want it, and we got to continue to work, continue to improve on it. I've seen it. You know, the nice thing is I see a lot of improvements out of guys. You see a lot of really good things. And then there's head scratchers. You know, I mean, you watch. I'll go turn on the film and I'll show you 4 plays of them running the same play 4 times against the same defense 4 times, and I'll show you 2 tackles for loss and 2 30-yard gains. And really, just it's an inconsistency of performance of guys. You know, sometimes we're making great plays, getting off blocks, and winning at the line of scrimmage. Other times I don't know why. You know, I mean, it's just what happened. I don't know. You know, just young guys, and sometimes they're executing, sometimes they're not.
A couple of Nick Fitzgerald's misfires this season have been high. When you see that, what's happening?
You know, I think usually when you throw the ball high, a lot of times you're rushing a throw. And, you know, and there's a lot of different reasons that could happen. 1, protection, you're shifting in the pocket. 2, you're getting to a 3rd or 4th read in progression. You got there a little bit late. 3, receiver doesn't run the right depth of a route, and you're trying to get the ball out fast. So a lot of times what will happen, sailing a throw, is you're trying to hurry up. You go to try to speed things up. You overstride on your step. A lot of times, as soon as you overstride, you sink. Overstriding is going to raise your front shoulder. It's going to cause the ball to sail on you. So, you know, a lot of that is just lower body mechanics and how fast you're processing the information, and that everybody else is getting their job done too.